Welcome to another edition of the Making Love Songs podcast.
I'm Carroll Thompson.
And I'm Dotun Adebayo. They call me the king of nighttime radio.
And they call me the queen of lovers rock.
And every week we look at a particular love song to try and see if it's the way that Carroll hears it or it's the way that I hear it.
That's right. Yeah, so we never seem to agree, but only thing we do agree on is that the making love songs and the making of love songs is quite an experience, and it's very interesting.
You see, love songs are from Mars, but women are from Venus.
But you will decide as we look at these songs and pull them apart and look at the stories. And
I'm not going to pull this one apart. It speaks for itself.
Yeah,
Jolene,
some do.
Jolene, I'm begging of you, baby.
Exactly, Jolene. What a powerful song. It's just so amazing that another woman can be singing a song about another woman, and it's still a love song, even though there's a lot of angst. They're fighting over one man.
What makes it a great love song?
I think it's powerful. The person who's writing the song, which was Dolly Parton, I don't know if it's personal or what.
It is personal. She says that it happened in the 60s, about 1968, when she was going out on tour a lot of the time, and there was this ravishing redheaded woman
flaming
at the bank, who was a bank teller, and he was making eyes at her husband, and whilst she was away trying to get off with her husband, I don't know if he succeeded or not, she wasn't clear about that, but she did say that she boxed her husband upside the head when he came back.
Well, I don't know about that part of it because it's not in the song.
No, but she tells that story, it's her, that's what she says on the stage.
Wow, well, it's a powerful song, and I know that some real powerful emotions were being felt to kind of create this whole scenario of one man and two women.
So what happens in the song, and why is this song a great love song?
I think because everyone recognises that maybe that fear of losing the person you love to I guess as they often say, to somebody who maybe in Dolly Parton's view felt that this woman may be more attractive than she is, or maybe she felt that her husband was weakening, or that the relationship was weakening. But for whatever reason, she felt she was losing the love of her life.
Hang on, the love of her life?
Yes.
The love of her life?
Well, she says that she was saying to Jolene that you can have your choice of men, but I will never love again.
That's your problem.
He's the only one for me.
That's
Jolene.
Your problem.
So she's appealing to this other woman, which is quite interesting, really, because I don't know how many women actually whether they pick up a phone, apart from Shirley Jones back in the day, who had the song about, the other woman. But the fact that she will actually talk to this woman and appeal to this woman.
She begs her. She doesn't appeal. She begs her from the very first line. I'll tell you why. It starts off with this really driving bass and guitar, country kind of thing, folksy thing, and that gives the impression that it's not that big a deal because it's a very jaunty, it's fast-paced, dancing, traditional, rhythmic, blah blah blah. Yeah. So it's not a plaintive.
It's not setting up to be something that's heartrending. You think you're going to dance. It sounds jolly to start off with. It's like, even though it's kind of half minor.
It's not a sad love song, although from the word, once she starts begging at the beginning, then you're thinking, wow, this is deep. So she's begging. Yeah. What do you think that music does, first of all, though? Because I think that puts you off. You're expecting take me home, country roads, to a land I belong, and all that nonsense.
Yes, well what it does is it's sort of like it's a juxtaposition between happy, sad. Right, so you're thinking that it's going to be something jolly and uplifting, but it's actually a very sad and powerful love song.
Does it have to be that way? Because all the other versions I've heard of it are pretty much like that, except for the White Stripes version seems to go somewhere else, a little bit dark, but that's what you'd expect from them, from Jack White. But Miley Cyrus's version, which is arguably today, more popular than Dolly Parton's version,
yes.
she does exactly the same thing. She drives it along. I've heard this, family group, the Petersons, do a version of it as well.
Right.
That they drive it along in that jaunty country way.
Yeah.
So you're not expecting the kind of depth of personal angst that comes into this. You're not expecting the begging. You're not expecting to see a woman with a big old wig
on her knees.
On her knees, and literally, not just on her knees, but with her arms around the ankles of Jolene. So Jolene, 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 Jolene.
I didn't quite see it like that.
She has to call it 4 times.
That's quite an interesting.
Well, that's what it is, though.
Yeah,
How does the chorus go? Jolene,
Jolene,
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. It's like Jolene hasn't heard the first 3 times.
Well, she's pleading.
She's pleading.
So she has to keep repeating herself in order for Jolene to really understand how deep.
Jolene understood from the very first word. Because she says, I'm begging.
But Jolene probably doesn't care. Maybe Jolene doesn't care.
And this is the bit that I'm getting. Jolene doesn't care because that's not her man. No, it's not. It's Jolene's man, possibly. It's not the man of the narrator of the story. She says, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
That's right.
Don't take my man. My man. What evidence is there that it is her man? This is what I want to know, because I think it's Jolene's man. I think the narrator is the one that's having an affair with Jolene's man, and that she has gone.
That's interesting.
It's important. It's not just interesting, it's true. Because she's going, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
Right.
Hang on, your man is somebody who wakes up in the middle of the night screaming Jolene's name, and you're saying it's your man.
Yeah.
Carroll, if I wake up in the middle of the night screaming Jolene, 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 I am not your man.
No, I don't believe. I don't. There's an interesting way of looking at it, but I don't believe that is the correct way of looking at it. I don't see it that way at all. But it's a very interesting.
But you see, none of the women that do this see it that way. And I'm looking at the song and thinking, isn't it obvious? It's not her man.
No,
she says,
her man. It's definitely her man.
No, it's definitely not her man.
It's her man.
No, he talks about you in his sleep.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do to keep from crying.
Right.
Yeah?
So you're looking at that she is actually the other woman.
Yeah, of course she's the other woman.
And Jolene is the woman who's married to the man.
What, Jolene, not necessarily married to the man.
But they are. That is the main relationship.
Basically, you've got 2 women. This is a menage a trois.
Yes.
Except that the third part of this menage a trois is not there. He's been talked about. And we only hear him being talked about by one person who claims that it's her man. How many times have you seen a woman saying, yeah, that's my man? And everybody else in the village knows, no. He's just a runaround.
I don't really see it that way, because she says to her, to the woman, you could have your choice of men.
Yeah.
But I could never love again.
Yeah.
He's the only one for me.
That's why she's begging her. Look, I know this is your man.
You see how you've just said at the beginning, Dolly Parton said her man, right? In the country tradition of stand by your man.
That's a different song.
No, but I'm saying, it's the way in which it's a tradition. It's how they talk about their relationships. They talk about their relationships.
This is real life you're talking about.
Can I speak?
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
Okay, there is one thing that bothers me about the relationship here. The line where she goes, my happiness depends upon you, Jolene.
Yeah.
Your happiness depends upon Jolene.
Yeah, it depends on her leaving her man alone.
But how can your happiness depend on the other woman?
That's how she feels that if this woman is still in her man's life, then she will never be able to rekindle their relationship or continue their relationship. So she's just telling the woman to back off. That's
She's
basically
telling her.
she's begging her to back off. That is the essence of what Dolly Parton is saying in the song.
Okay, she's begging some other woman to back off.
Yes.
Those two things are conflicting. Because when you're begging, you're
That's
pleading.
why it's a great song.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a great song.
Yeah.
It's a story. It's a story. It's one of those love songs that tells a story.
Yeah.
One of those great songs that tell a story.
Absolutely.
It's not just a riff. It's not just a spotlight on one little sort of aspect of life.
Yeah.
It's not a quirky, sort of song about nothing. But I love you, you love me.
No, it's definitely got.
Yeah.
It's definitely got substance.
It's got depth to it,
Yeah,
and it's a
depth
very
and
grown-up
substance.
one as well. It's
Yeah,
a grown-up one
yeah,
because
it is a grown-up song.
if you're talking about my man,
Yeah.
although it could be a younger person,
Who's Jolene?
Yeah, Jolene. I always
Yeah.
get the impression that Jolene's an older person, who has been in a relationship, and like I say, it's a relationship with somebody who isn't really that bothered about her.
Jolene's having fun. From what I get from this is Jolene is just enjoying herself.
But isn't the narrator having fun?
Well, how do you mean the narrator having fun? Explain
Well,
what you
because
mean.
she says her happiness depends on that. So she was happy before Jolene came around, was she? Yeah?
Yeah.
She was happy. What her husband was, or her partner was faithful to her before Jolene. You reckon?
Yeah, one with this. Well,
You reckon?
Maybe he wasn't, but this one seems pretty serious.
Okay, now it's serious. So
Yeah. Maybe it's just not very. It cannot be a great relationship. I mean, at the end of the day, if a woman has to go to another woman to beg her to leave her partner or her man her alone, then the relationship isn't brilliant to start with. It's not a great relationship, but the narrator feels that without this man in her life, she will never be happy, and she's quite willing to go and almost degrade herself to keep this man, because she's begging another woman to leave her man alone, instead of saying to her man, what are you doing? Instead of talking to her man, she's talking to the other person. So I think it's very interesting. A very interesting notion to do that.
Dolly Parton's version, the version she did originally, and everybody else who has done it, says, please don't take him just because you can. Yeah. Please don't take my man just because you can.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, Miley Cyrus's version says, please don't take him even though you can.
Yeah.
So that's
slightly different.
Well, it's very different.
Yeah, that is.
Because just because you can puts Jolene in the biased position of just being frivolous.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas Miley Cyrus's version says, look,
even though you can,
even though
there's some thought in there.
Yeah, even though you can,
yeah.
And that seems to strengthen my position that Jolene is not frivolous. She's got every right to this man. That's why it's even though you can take him. You may as well say, even though you have every right to take him. Even though you have every right to take him.
So I see where if you're going to place the song on that preposition, then I can understand why you would think it was in reverse. But I was looking at it just because you can. So she's far more frivolous, and she is somebody that could easily move on if she wanted to. Whereas, even though you can, is a different slant on the same theme.
How does it come across that the woman is begging? Because there's that song "Ain't Too Proud to Beg,"
right?
And you can understand that it's kind of like a much more disco-y.
Yeah.
Ain't too proud to beg is refrain, jumping up and down. Ain't too proud to beg. But here, like I say, the impression you've got is, first of all, Jolene's not listening. That's why she's got to scream out her name 4 times. And the 4th time she goes up. She goes up an octave or half an octave, whatever it is. Yeah, she goes up.
That's for the drama.
That is for the drama. Is it for the drama, or is it because Jolene hasn't listened the first 3 times?
Whichever. It's the drama of her pleading is getting more intense, and maybe Jolene isn't listening, or whether maybe she's just stamping and saying, Jolene, I'm telling you now, and my voice is going up, and I'm just telling you because I'm so passionate about this, and I'm so upset and I'm so distraught about it. And I mean, why do you think people really relate or have taken this song to heart? Because so many people have covered it and continue to cover this song.
Because it's a great little song.
Yeah, and it's not
got
your
a great
normal
story.
love song, is it?
It's got a great story.
Yeah.
It's not your normal love song.
No.
It's probably the best song that Dolly Parton's written. It's probably one of the best love songs out there.
Right.
But I'm saying that I can't understand why everybody does it the way that Dolly Parton does it. I suppose when you perform a song as good as it's ever going to be performed,
Right.
and the song is produced as well as it's ever going to be produced, or at least nobody's production is better than that, and nobody's musicianship is better than that, then they just do it the same way. They don't add anything new to it.
No.
Or is it something intrinsic in the song that demands to just simply be told rather than to be performed, if you see what I mean?
Well, when I decided to perform it and get inside this song, I took it out of its normal context, and I just sang it voice and piano, and told the story.
But without the throbbing bass,
without the jingle
and the driving guitar,
without
really?
without the bells and whistles, no bells and whistles.
And so that country folksy thing's not there.
No country. I just looked at the melody and I looked at the lyrics, and I have to say, when you strip it down like that, you then really get to the essence of it, where you can actually treat it like, when sometimes you hear a song and they start the song and she said, so they're now telling the story as opposed to being in the story.
Okay.
That's one way of looking at it. And she said, Jolene, Jolene, and she's talking.
Oh, so you start the song before the lyric?
You can, yeah. So in your head, you can actually be just telling the story.
Yeah.
Or you can be the woman who's talking to Jolene. So I decided, I've never been in that position. So I thought, let me try and be
You've never been in that position?
I have never been in that position.
You've never begged a woman?
Never begged a woman to stay away.
Has any woman ever begged you?
No.
So how will you know how to perform it if you've never been in that position?
License.
I know, but how will you know? How will you get the experience? Because obviously your performance will
Right,
improve.
I have been in that position though. I'm not going to tell you which one of the positions I was in. So basically...
How much did you beg? Did you get down on your knees? Did you have your arms chained around her ankles?
I said you don't know which one of the positions I was in.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, right.
Yeah, but I'm assuming.
And also I've known women who've been in that position.
I'm not saying that your beauty is not beyond compare, but I'm saying that you don't have flaming locks of auburn hair or ivory skin, and your smile, I'm sure, is like a breath of spring. But
as I was singing the song, I decided to, as I say, break it down and deconstruct it a little bit. Look at it and just keep it very simple. Strip it down. And the song and the words are very powerful. It's like a script. And I really enjoyed this song. I really enjoyed singing this song. Because normally, as you said, because it has that country backdrop, and it's usually sort of very happy, yee-haw. But when you take that away and you're not actually got the rhythm and you're not grooving, you're just actually singing the song. It was a very interesting experience.
Can you do it like a sinister song, like a threatening song? Because here she's saying she's pleading, but there's no you better or else. Apart
there's
from
none of that. No,
my happiness depends on you.
No.
But can you do it like that? Can you do it like, Jolene, I've asked you once, Jolene, I've asked you twice now, Jolene, I've asked you 3 times, Jolene.
Right.
And now I'm serious.
Well, you can. The beauty of a song is open to interpretation, isn't it? So you can come from whichever angle you want to, like you so rightly said at the beginning, that, actually it's the other way around. That Jolene...
What difference will that make? If it's
it depends on, which character you've chosen to take in this piece. It's a really interesting love song. I mean, I'm so glad that we chose this song, because it's not an obvious love song, but it is a very powerful love song, and so many people know it. And because I think it's so unusual for a woman to be speaking to another woman like that within a song. It's really fantastic.
There is some irony in this song.
You're right.
Because you don't believe that she's really saying to Jolene, your beauty is beyond compare. I've never heard one woman...
No, they do. Women do talk to me about
that. Say that, you're more beautiful than I am.
Well, I've seen many songs actually, a few songs like that where another woman will say, well, you know, there's a Phyllis Dillon song where she says, they say that you're more beautiful than I.
They say.
Yeah.
They say.
But they say it to the point that she feels she has to repeat that.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, she's not saying I know you are more beautiful than I. They say that, so obviously, I have to say that because people are thinking that she's more beautiful than I am. Just to say that alone puts her in this position, and I have seen that in songs. So it's not unique.
So
women do sometimes feel that they are less beautiful.
But
than
then,
another woman.
what does this woman have? What does the narrator have? Because remember, Jolene is the one whose breath is like spring.
Yes.
Jolene's the one whose voice is soft like summer rain. Yeah. So Jolene's the one whose beauty is beyond compare. Yeah. It's almost Shakespearean though, because there's that Shakespearean sonnet about shall I compare thee to a summer's day, and all of that.
That's true.
But this is, so what does this woman have to offer? She hasn't got a damn, just because it's her man. It's not her man, I'm telling you. It's not her man. She has fallen in love
with somebody else's man.
With somebody else's guy, as Jocelyn Brown would sing. She's fallen in love with somebody else's guy.
Okay.
The other person, Jolene in this case, she may not think is that serious about the other guy. So she's saying, look, Jolene, you know, you can get any man. Why don't you just leave this one to me? That's it. Please, Jolene. And Jolene could even be her best friend. Jolene, do you know, like when you have those women who are beautiful and you know that they always hang around with women who are less beautiful to accentuate their own beauty. So the woman that's less beautiful, she's always hanging around. So when they go out to clubs and everything like that, she never gets a man. No man ever looks at her because they're all looking at Jolene. So they never notice. But on this one occasion, she's that's an interesting concept. Isn't it? It's an interesting concept as well. Two women wanting the same man, but she's, you know, she knows that she's just playing with this guy, whereas she feels that she could be the right partner for this. Because
there's so many ways to interpret it.
When he talks about Jolene in his sleep, most women would just slap him.
I slapped him when he mentioned you in your sleep.
Yeah. Most women
and I still can't compete.
Talk about Jolene, whereas she's doing nothing but crying.
At this point.
Because she knows that she's lost. She's a loser.
You need part two, don't you? You need part two. What happens? What happens after this?
Well, where would you go with writing that? Where would you go?
Quite interesting.
Where would you go? You're the songwriter.
Yeah, Jolene. I would just say, hey, you know, I woke up this morning and came to my senses. You can have him.
I thought your happiness depended upon it. So everything you were saying in part one is not true.
She woke up she came to her senses and she realised.
So even you are admitting that this song is a load.
I think it's just a moment. I think this is just. I don't think she actually ever went to see Jolene. This was just a moment.
Maybe she's thinking about it in her head.
This is a moment of her sitting down and being as negative and depressed as she can be. And she wrote it in a moment of depression. There is no way that this actually happened. It's a moment of complete despair. Yeah. And the only way to get through that moment is to write all these things that you're thinking into some kind of prose, in some kind of a poem.
Yeah, if it was
I think that's what happened.
If it was just Jolene,
never happened.
It did happen.
She didn't go to the bank and she didn't say a word.
Well, I don't know about that side. If you know what Dolly Parton says, was exactly the way that it happened. But the way that the song goes, it really did happen, because she wouldn't have had to call Jolene's name out 4 times if actually she was just thinking it. Just stop sobbing and say, "Oh, Jolene,
I think actually you're wrong. I don't believe that. I think you can actually sit down and you're thinking,
Jolene,
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. Listen, I'm begging on you, please, just don't take my man. It's a thought process. I think it's it's a stream of consciousness.
Jolene.
That's it.
Jolene. Jolene.
And the more she says her name, the more she pictures her.
She's got to
and
say
the
her
more
name.
that she can see this skin, the eyes, the hair, the vibe, because she's focusing on this woman.
She actually says her name too much in this song, in my view. We get it by now. Jolene, 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 Jolene.
Yeah.
What about the point where she says to her, I'm having this conversation, this talk. She actually says, I had to have this talk with you.
Because my happiness
depends on you,
or
whatever you decide to do.
It's a talking that she's having, but it's in her head.
Oh, she's talking to us. When she says, I had to have this talk with you, she's talking to herself. Yes. She's saying to herself, I had to have this talk with you. No,
in her mind she's saying that, that's what she's saying.
Because she's sounding a little bit nutty at the moment.
I think she must be to actually even want to go up to her and tell her, I'm begging you this in the first place.
Is this the greatest love story ever for you?
It's a great love story. It's a great story of
what's missing though?
In what do you mean missing in terms of
what could make it even greater?
Oh, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. I don't know. I guess the conclusion. I think what makes it great is that it hangs, and that's why we're able to have such a great conversation about it, because it hangs and it leaves you thinking. It's such an uncomfortable song, but it's a song of great love, and it's just a song of love, and somebody who cares and actually says, my happiness is not coming from myself, my happiness is from this other person, and somebody else has the power to just destroy that, and that is the power of it, and the fact that it just hangs, it doesn't have a button.
I don't know if there's much that can be improved on it. I would suggest that if it was more clear, or if it was more ambiguous, about what the narrator's role is, whether she really has Jolene or not, if it was more ambiguous, and I think you can put that across in a performance. If it was much more ambiguous, I think, oh gosh, what's going on here? I'd be a little bit more, and I get the reason why it's got to have that jaunty accompaniment,
the happiness thing,
because otherwise it's like one of those things. It could be a really it could be a bit too sentimental. Somebody begging somebody else, please don't take it.
Well, it could be like the blues, really, because it is a country blues, but it's done pretty quick. It's done in quite a high tempo, so fast tempo. So it could be, what I did is that I brought it down and I just dealt with the melody and I just dealt with the lyric, So it has a whole different feeling to it. But what it shows is that it's a song that stands alone. If you take the song out of the context in which it was originally recorded with Dolly, and just look at it as a song, it actually stands alone as a song. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes a song is so embedded into the arrangement or the sounds of that time, like some of the electric stuff or the electro stuff. Sometimes the song doesn't transcend because it's securely fossilized in that production and the sound of that production. But this is an actual song, a song that, as I said, it stands by itself. So people from many genres could actually sing this song if they really wanted to. But I don't think they have, because it's so identifiable as a particular type of country song. But it does. I
think another reason why it has to have that jaunty accompaniment, and I've seen Dolly Parton perform it on stage several times on YouTube and stuff. And each time she's not doing it seriously, she's doing it almost, just tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you.
Is that the very first time? When she did it in the early days, when she was much younger, I think probably...
On the record, on the album.
On the album, but when you see her sing it live when she was much younger, when she sung this song, it wasn't as how she does it now, because now
it was still the same accompaniment.
Yeah, but in terms of how she expresses it, it's not the same, because now she's a grown woman, and it's like, honestly, you love this song, but
this is it.
You know, you love the song, but this is what I wrote when I was 18. Okay,
but it's also the times have changed.
Times have changed,
and
absolutely.
It's not it can never be a feminist anthem. It can never be. I mean, and some of the
words,
it's a bit too soppy.
It's not I Will Survive.
It's also, you're prepared to beg another woman over a man. Absolutely. He's the only one for me. He's the only one for you. Are you kidding? In a world full of men?
As I said, it's a moment of weakness and a moment of real despair. But when she woke up the next morning...
No, she didn't wake up.
When she woke up, she realised, oh my God.
The next morning when she woke up...
I'm so glad I just wrote this as a song.
The next morning...
Actually go and beg this
The next morning when she woke up, she was thinking, oh my word, what did I do?
She didn't go.
Why did I handcuff my wrist around her ankles so that she couldn't get away? I was embarrassed, and she dragged me along the pavement or the sidewalk, as you would say in America. She dragged me along the sidewalk, and everybody was like saying, no girl, shame, this is not a good look. Just let Jolene go off with your man. Don't be being dragged across the floor like that, man. Wipe the floor with
I think it was a real sort of a moment of deep thought and weakness and despair, but I don't think she did it.
Okay, so we're going to hear your performance now, if that's okay.
That's right.
Do you mind me being critical of it?
Of my performance? Mm-hmm. I do.
You mind?
I just want you to love it.
But can we go back? Can we go back to? Okay, I know you're not going to tell me when you admitted finally after I dragged it out of you that you have been in a situation like this. I know you're not going to tell me if you were Jolene or you were the other woman, but just tell me this: which would you rather be under the circumstances in this song? Would you rather be Jolene or would you rather be the other woman?
I prefer to be Jolene. I'm not going to beg a woman ever to leave my man.
You'd prefer to be the one who could just get any man, yeah?
Yeah, I would, of course.
And you'd be the one who took a man just because you can.
Well, maybe
just because you can.
You could say you took the man just because you can, but not because you know that he was with somebody.
So if you were Jolene and this other woman that was begging you came and said, "Look, it's my happiness is completely down to you.
Yeah.
My happiness is completely down to you.
Right.
I've been crying all night long. My man's bawling out your name in the middle of the night, Jolene. What would you do? What would you say and what would you do?
My love, he's all yours.
No, you wouldn't.
I would.
No, you wouldn't.
I'd
you're Jolene.
I'd say, no, I would.
You're Jolene.
If I were Jolene, I'd say, please stop, it's fine. If he means that much to you, please, you're welcome to the
So you didn't have any love for the man yourself?
But if I can have my choice of men, she will never love again, then as a woman to a woman, I'd say, well, if you feel you would never love again, and I can have my choice of men, then
Carroll, you never loved the man. I'm concerned now. You've been sleeping around with some man.
No, you're taking it somewhere else.
Called Dotun, and you never loved him. You'd give him up in a second.
Yes, if I was Jolene in this context.
Gosh, man, dear,
harsh, isn't it? It's
so
really
much
hard.
For making love songs. Okay, let's hear your version.
This is my version of Jolene by Dolly Parton.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, flaming locks of auburn hair and ivory skin and eyes of an ogre Jolene. Your smile is like a spring, your voice is like the autumn spring, and I cannot compete, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep, and there's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. And I can easily understand how you can easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can. You can have your choice of men, but I can never love again. He's the only one for me, Jolene. I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you. Whatever you decide, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.